Call this meeting to order. If you would, follow along with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation from Ted Martin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Board. Father, we thank you for another beautiful day in the Ozarks, and we invite you into the chambers tonight as we do the business of the city, as discussions are had and decisions are made, that we hope that everything is glorifying and honoring to you. Father, thanks for the city of Branson, for all it stands for our tourism, for our visitors, for our businesses, for our residents, and the services that we provide from the 200-plus employees. Thank you for the safety and for the leadership and for the work that all of them do. Thanks for our board and for their service as well. Father, we love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ted. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Fenton.
Here.
Denham. Here. Cooper.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Howden.
Here.
LeBlanc.
Here.
Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to start the meeting off by recognizing Susan Halfacre as a recipient of the You've Been Caught Citizen Recognition Award for the month of August 2022. Susan, would you meet me at the podium, please? On behalf of the Mayor, Board of Aldermen, City Administrator, and City staff, it is my honor to announce Susan Halfacre as the City of Branson's You've Been Caught Doing Something Good Award winner. This award is to positively recognize Branson citizens and community members who make our community a great place to live, work, and play. Susan is receiving this award because of her efforts to grow Branson while preserving the unique history. She recently purchased a dilapidated 1937 building in the historic downtown Branson district. She remodeled and created two unique new businesses, Vintage Mercantile and Sterling Real Estate Group. This area is now greatly improved and drives traffic to the area. Throughout the project, she took great pains to preserve the building's unique history. She is a great example of a City of Branson resident with the commitment and vision for planning for the city's future while protecting the unique past. Congratulations, and keep making Branson proud.
Thank you very much.
Once again, I'd like to thank Gino for bringing this idea to myself and the board to honor our You've Been Caught citizens. At this time, Marshall Howden will be presenting donations to Branson Cares.
Will you guys join me down at the podium, please? Folks, this is something special that we did. Of course, you guys know that we've been doing proclamations, and we did Mel Tillis Day, and I've already talked about this. We had an incredible turnout. Well, 100% of the donations from the money raised for the ticket sales for that are going to Branson Cares. And Branson Cares, I'm going to talk to a little bit about that, and then maybe Bob will say a few more words, but it's a growing collection of Branson entertainers have lended their support for this effort to provide pediatric wheelchairs to children around the world. Led by the Branson Academy for the Advancement of Music and Theater, the Branson entertainers have taken to this effort just as Broadway did a generation ago in the mission known as Broadway Cares. Hope Haven International Ministries has partnered with this industry advocacy group to provide pediatric wheelchairs. This effort combines the goodwill of both Branson citizens and visitors alike. As many theaters, hotels, and restaurants have agreed to place donation jars in their lobbies to continue this fundraising effort as a community mission. Branson has always been known for its values. It is recognized that the community has a giving spirit and will in great confidence make this effort successful. It is a unifying mission that can bring many different aspects of the community together. And so I would like to present the check that was raised from my granddaddy's concert in the total of $5,031.82 to Branson Cares. Absolutely. Yep.
Certainly want to thank Marshall for his leadership in all of this, and thank you to the mayor and board for allowing us this moment of recognition, not only for the work that Marshall did to produce a show and raise funds for our charity, but to our gentleman from Hope Haven who flew in from Iowa and Florida for the acceptance of this great donation tonight. And I do want to just kind of make one follow-up point. Our shows and theaters have taken the lead on this fundraiser, but we truly are making it a citywide fundraiser. We have 26 hotels, I'm not sure how many restaurants and other facilities, but it really is going citywide. So it may have been begun and coalesced by our shows and theaters, but we thank the entire community of Branson for participating and helping us build these pediatric wheelchairs for children with disabilities around the world. So thank you to the community, and thank you to the board, and thank you, Marshall.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. This is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear from citizens who have signed up in the order they were listed that affect the board and the city limits of Branson. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers signed up?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. Our first speaker is Mona Miller. She's speaking on Convoy of Honor, 5751 State Highway 165, Branson, Missouri.
Mona, before you start talking, I want to say I've known Mona. She is, what's the title you have with our veteran organization?
I'm the morale officer.
She's been the morale officer of our Branson veterans for how many years?
This will be my 18th year.
18th year. So she is purposely dressed in an outfit that I'm confident she will share. But I really would like the board and the community to listen to what Mona has to offer. So, you're
Okay.
on.
Well, first, I'm very passionate about Branson, and I'm more passionate about those that serve our country, many that lived, many that died, so that we might be free. But most of all, I go out and I brag about Branson. Well, this time I joined the convoys as we crossed from one ocean to the other, back again, and back again. 3 times we crossed the United States as a convoy. We also, at one point on that picture, that convoy at Hagerstown was 90 miles long on the day that picture was taken. Well, I climbed on stages at rallies in Ohio and Big Cabin and Little Rock and up in Canada and at the Unity Convoy. And I'd go in and I told a story called The Ragged Old Flag 911. It's my personal rendition of Johnny Cash's Ragged Old Flag. But before I did, everybody would want me to introduce myself. So I'm going to introduce myself as I introduce myself to the convoys. Well, me? Why, I'm from the most God-loving, patriotic city in the whole world, right in the heart of the United States, where we honor our veterans 365 days a year. You can't attend any one of our shows that the veterans at some point are not asked to stand and be recognized. Why, We feed our vets for free every day during Veterans Week. You see, we set aside a whole week to honor our vets from November the 5th through the parade on the 11th. And if you ought to be a patriot and you want to have a reunion of patriots, why, there's only one place on the planet to have that reunion, and that'd be Branson, Missouri. And they're coming. I have no idea. I do know I've heard from 48 states, and I've heard from our northern neighbor from Canada. I even got an email from a fellow over in New Zealand who's considering flying here just for Veterans Week so he can drive a car in our convoy of honor. Now, this is not a political protest of any sort. It has nothing to do with the right or the left. You're invited to join this convoy simply because you breathe, because God gave you a breath. I care not what your skin color is, your religion. I had a fella call me the other day and he said, Mona, can I fly a Democratic flag in your parade? I said, honey, you can run your drawers up a flagpole and fly them if you want. I don't care. The rules for this convoy is you must be riding on rubber and you must be flying a flag and honking a horn. Now, I don't know what kind of permission or anything else, but I was asked whether or not I had a permit. I said, wait a minute. This is a city-sanctioned, nationally advertised event, and I just invited a bunch of my friends, about 2 or 3 million of them. I've been on live streams with as many as 50,000 people listening to me talk about my beautiful Branson at a single time. I've been on live streams from coast to coast and shore to shore, and I have learned to teach people to love one another. One of my biggest speeches was the fact that America is special. American people are wonderful. I have worked disasters from coast to coast and shore to shore. And you know what? There's a magic in every hurricane and in every tornado. Because American people, not the government, it's the American people that walks in after a flood muds out a house. It's the American people that gather together and gather food and clothing for those who've lost their homes.
30 seconds.
That's so what I'm here to tell you right now is you can either hate it, love it, dread it, or embrace it. But the convoy's rolling into Branson for Veterans Week.
Mona, before you go, what Mona shared with me earlier is her goal is to have what's the record? The Guinness Book of World Record.
For the longest intercity convoy.
Intercity convoy.
Right.
So she's been in communication with the Guinness Book people.
I submitted the forms that they require, but I have not heard back from them yet.
Mona I've heard her say many times that when we talk about the word freedom, we can't use the word freedom without really acknowledging our veterans and what they've done. So we have this freedom that we do today, right?
Yes. And y'all, get in the vehicle on the 9th of November. We're going to line up at the ballparks of America, and we're going to roll out for as long as we roll out. We're going to go from the ballparks to Shepherd of the Hills to Roark to Gretna to the 248 to the landing and up 76 for one lap around the city. Now, how long it takes for that lap to go around the city is the question, because I have no way of knowing. I did find out today from somebody who's in the know that there ain't a room left in town, because I've been having them book early. One lady has booked 100 rooms. So, y'all, come out and join us. Roll on rubber and fly a flag.
Thank you, Mona. And Mona, we just may have you visit with our chief of police. Madam Clerk, next speaker?
Our next speaker is Richie Zaitz, speaking on public health, 12692 Highway 14 West, Omaha, Arkansas.
Richie, I am so excited to hear what you're going to share about public health that this board and the city of Branson can do.
Well, you were talking about the next generation of children that because there is a government from DC telling people that they should vaccinate their babies. And I've been on the radio with that, and people that were listening were actually crying when they heard that someone would even imply that an experimental inoculation might be perceived as something that would occur. And I'm only here to represent that. So we do have a website, which is nomorejab.wordpress.com. And I would ask everyone to go there. There are facts, medical facts. We've had medical doctors. We have 20,000 frontline doctors who are recommending that this is not a good thing. And, I love this country. I appreciate, by the way, did you want me to make a rap about it or something?
No,
Clay?
he was
Okay.
looking forward to you wrapping up.
I can't rap. Well, I could. I could say this is where we're at, and we're trying to stop the vac. I can go on for about 15 minutes, but I'm not going to do that tonight.
Thank
Anyway,
you,
I
Richard.
love y'all. I'm glad you're here. I support every one of you. This is a wonderful, free city, and I don't think anyone really realizes the extent of what we have here. And I think we should thank our Lord Jesus Christ every single day for the freedoms that we are participating in. And God bless every one of you, and God bless Branson.
Thank you, Richie. Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Keith Clements, speaking on Branson Bridge, USA, 3830 Green Mountain, Branson, Missouri.
Welcome, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm on the board with the condo board with King Gate over on the 3830 Green Mountain Drive. And I have the others that are with me are owners of condos there. And we came up concerned about hearing about this bridge, USA, because we live in an area that we already have Cato's Cave, which has a lot of low-income people in it. We also have the 3 or 4 motels. I never have been able to distinguish just how many of them's there, but they are doing the same thing. And now we understand that this Bridge USA wants to build a unit in there that would house hundreds of other, they call them exchange students. I don't know what this means, but I'm sorry? It's the J1 program, whatever that is. I'm not sure of it, but we're considered about the congestion and about how many we're going to have in over there, because those motels get full and Cato's Cave gets full. And we're also concerned about tearing out 14 more acres of trees right in that area. And if they do build a place that big, they're going to have to tear them all out. And I understand that they ask for free land or for, you just literally to sell it to them for nothing. And I kind of question that if it's really a good deal for the citizens, because something needs to be done here. You've got a new jail, I guess you're building, or a police station and all. That's going to have so much money put into it and all. And this land just give away, but it's a beautiful piece of land. I don't know what it can be used for, but it surely could be used for something better than tear down. But our concern our main concern is the fact of just having so many people, and there's going to be such a congested area. Now, some people have said that they need workers here. Now, I understand that this Bridge USA has been here since 2018. I don't know. We get conflicting information on the internet. But if they have, how come they haven't solved the employment problem? If they haven't, they've already been there 4 years. So is it going to make a difference if they move in there and bring hundreds more in? And it's going to consent, what about the health system here? The health system, they got good systems, but it's getting loaded down because we're getting so many people in here. And I don't understand where what the people that live here are going to do if they bring these in, because as most things the government does, they try to put them, the ones that come in from out of the country, in front of the citizens. They're doing that everywhere. And this is our main complaint about it. We're afraid it's going to be so congested. And we have property values there that we want to keep up. And they're crowding the French Quarter and all by these motels they have. They're just right across, 2 blocks from us? And they're the older motels and all. But if they start crowding in that area too much, then our property land is going to tank. And we want to stay in Branson. We want to stay in a good place to live. We've been working diligently to keep the grounds and everything looking good. We put out money on the building, on the place, and we just don't want it to start backing up on us. And our concern is, I know we don't have all of the information because we've tried to go on the internet. One of the condo owners, which couldn't be here tonight, called City Hall and said he wanted to get some information. They said they didn't know anything about it. Now this is, I don't know, I guess maybe that's true, but it seemed kind of odd that you had these people in here talking and nobody in City Hall knows anything about it, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of a lack of communication or something. I don't know what it is. But anything that we could get on it and we could find out where it stands and what's happening on it and what we have to do to bring it, the concern, strongly to the committee here.
30 seconds.
Keith, what's the name of your condo association?
It's Branson Kinggate. It's at 3830 Green Mountain Drive. Clay knows where it's at. He can bring you over there.
Yeah, Mayor, they, one of the owners there contacted me because I'm friends with her and was asking about it. And I gave them, what information that we had, and we had the presentation. And if they had concerns, this was the place to take it up, so.
Absolutely. Keith, I appreciate you so much for coming and addressing us tonight. I can tell you this, you've raised our awareness, and we're going to follow up, and we'll follow up with you personally on this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for showing up, and thank you for everybody that came to support him.
We thank you for your time.
Mr. Mayor, can I say real quickly? Hey, Keith, one thing I wanted to say is that, some of those ones that have embarked upon getting in J1 workers in the past, there's a fine line there between J1 and then people that are in the low income, and sometimes those overlap, and sometimes some of these facilities are giving up on J1 because they want to be open all year round, so they start taking in some of the low-end workers, or low-income housing, things like that. I ran a hotel for a lot of years in this community, and we could not hire people. People just, they want to, I don't know, they live communally with each other, or they do whatever they do to kind of get by, and that's, I think, was the initial thought of why we were thinking this way. But we absolutely hear what you're saying, and want to make your concerns a priority, and get you all that information, so.
Well, I would like to make it clear that I was not putting down anyone that lives in any of those houses. Everybody's got a circumstance.
Sure.
But one area can only handle so many, and then it starts kind of getting overloaded.
You bet.
And if I may, and when Pam called, I think another concern that you guys had was that there's a lot of people wandering around your neighborhood now late at night and a lot of suspicious activity, and you're concerned about that as well, right?
We're running into enough of that, yes, we are.
Right. And like Marshall said with the J1, you made a comment that the J1 workers are coming in and getting in front of the local workers and taking jobs, but as Marshall said, we're having a hard time finding those local workers that want to show up and work, and I think that's the issue of why they're having to reach out to the J1s, because they are willing to come in and fill the need that the employers are needing right now. Again, that doesn't fix y'all's situation, and like the mayor said, we do hear you, and your concern is valid, so thank you for
Well,
coming.
I can look at it this way. If I had been raised in Branson, I would have had trouble keeping a job here because I don't want to work just 5-6 months out of the year.
Right.
I'd want a full-time job, and I'd want benefits, and I'd want, et cetera, which most of them don't give in this short period.
Yeah.
But I know this, that most of these that come in with green cards and all, their money doesn't be spent here. They send their money back to wherever they came from.
You're exactly right.
Because I've seen them stand in lines in New Mexico, waiting to get to wire the money back. They don't keep any of the money here.
No, you're right.
But anything that we can get done, we appreciate it.
Thank you again, Keith.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Your Honor, just if they can always get a hold of my office, and we have that update also, please feel free to call City Clerk's office so you get that information correct. Thank you. Our next speaker is Bobby Wydeen, speaking on immunization, 120 Quail Road, Branson, Missouri.
Good evening. I just want to clear up some information about immunizations. I work for Head Start. I enroll children. I maintain their files, including all their immunizations. And one thing, currently in the state of Missouri, parents can immunize their children or sign an exemption form that looks like this. You can go to www.dhss.mo.gov to get one of these forms, and you can sign off saying you don't want your children to get certain vaccines, all vaccines, et cetera. We have some children in our Head Start program that do not have vaccines. Some have some have all. And then also, and this form has to be completed each year. Public schools also use this form. And the COVID-19 vaccine is a voluntary vaccine, so it's not even, you would have to write that on the list of other. Otherwise, that's how vaccines work in the state of Missouri. And we shouldn't be, it's all a parent's issue. They get to choose what they want for their children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
That's all of our speakers.
Oh. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any member in the audience would like to have? I'm sorry, you were not recognized. Is there anybody else in the audience? That was Cherry Webster, and she would like item 3 brought down from consent. Or Linda. No, yeah. Her nickname, just call her, she says. Are there any other items that anybody in the audience would like to see pulled down from consent? Hearing none, are there any board members that would like any items pulled down from consent for further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you read the consent agenda, please?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for the August 9th, 2022 study session and August 9th, 2022 regular meeting. Acknowledge receipt of advisory part board minutes for the July 19th, 2022 meeting. Final reading of Bill Number 6184, an ordinance establishing the annual levy of a property tax for general revenue in the city of Branson, Missouri, a city of the 4th class. Final reading of Bill Number 6185, an ordinance approving the contract with the Southern Missouri Professional Firefighters, Local Number 152, affiliated with the International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC, for acceptance of the 2022 through 2024 agreement known as the Collective Bargaining Agreement, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6186, an ordinance approving the Phase 2 of the planimetric and topographic mapping project with Pictometry International Corporation. Final reading of Bill Number 6187, an ordinance amending the communication site lease agreement with Cellco Partnership DBA Verizon Wireless to extend the term and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. Final reading of Bill Number 6188, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the city of Branson to adjust monies in the insurance funding for an increase in $93,166 for additional cyber liability insurance coverage as premium. Final reading, Bill Number 6189, an ordinance approving the 2023 Employee Health and Wellness Program. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda. The floor is open for a motion approving all items on the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Alderman,
I've refreshed, but it's not. Can I give you a verbal for now?
please. You vote yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh,
That motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Then the first item will be number 3 from the consent agenda. Would you read that, please?
Your Honor, the next item is the acknowledgement of disbursements for July 22nd, 2022 through August 12th, 2022.
We put that up on the floor, is that correct?
Yeah, I need a motion, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A motion to approve the acknowledgement.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Is there anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? Oh, Cherry.
Good evening, sir. Director Forster, are you able to pull up the slide that's dated July 22nd? July 22nd. I think it's the second exhibit, and it's page number 2. So as a preface, at the last 2 Alderman hearings, I spoke on giveaways to developers, specifically on HCW disbursements for Branson Landing, where the $455,000 annual lease is effectively canceled out by the monthly fountain and maintenance contributions that just happen to also be for $455,000 a year. And then at the last hearing, where the city's annual report was presented, there were select pages where numbers were reported on Branson Landing and Branson Hills, and even the monthly dashboard item had a small bar chart on Branson Meadows. But you never see the bottom line effect show up for all of the giveaways. And the point I was trying to make at those hearings was that the city has no account number under which all of the giveaways can roll up that would thus allow you to get a concise look at the revenues that are coming in and how they're being offset by various kinds of donations back to the developers. And that's probably a big number. On tonight's disbursements, on page 2, about 4 or 5 lines down,
I'm not positive this is what you're looking for.
it's 1, 2, 3, the 5th line down. It says Ballparks of America.
On page 2.
Can you go to the very top? No, go to the very top. Stop. This is 8.5. You need to pull up the one that says 722. It's the second one down in the list of 6 or 7 exhibits.
Oh, 729.
722.
Charity, help him get there.
Page 2. Line 5. Ballparks of America. Now, it's $700. You're going to think, what a puny number.
What a puny number.
What a puny number. Why am I complaining about $700 a month? Well, I happen to do a Sunshine Records request for the leases of Ballparks of America. It's way more than $700 a month. Now, the $700 a month agreement lease was just renewed this past May. It's renewed every May, apparently. And it's not to exceed $8,400 a year. It is for the lease of building number one in space one, and it is to only be used for storage of personal property. And then when you look at this item, it's for storage fee. So they pay you $700 a month to store, and you turn around and pay them back $700 a month. Am I understanding that correctly?
Lisa, are you able to answer that one?
I hesitate to answer because I'm not sure specifically what this is, but I can tell you that there's record storage at Ballparks
I
of
know-
America, so it appears it could be that.
I know
Okay.
the city does pay for some space out at ballparks to store our own records.
In another storage facility, yes. So there's just around $8,000 a year, yes.
So I
So
have
is
some memory of the May lease, and that is the storage facility. Basically, there is so many voluminous records, they don't fit in City Hall.
So this is you leasing
Yes.
the space from
Yes.
Ballparks of America. But then when you look at the other leases associated with Ballparks of America, we're looking at a lot bigger numbers. For example, the ground lease, well, let's go to the facility use first. The facility use is $20,000 a month paid out semi-annually, $120,000 a year that the city pays, again, to Ballparks of America, so that they can lease the facilities if they need something local. Do you pay that even when you can't lease the space? Because I'm told that it's only if the space is available, and that's been a rarity, that they don't always allow the parks to use this space. Are you paying it even if you're not getting any use out of it?
Jerry, have we provided you with a copy of the lease agreement between the city and Ballparks of America?
Yes.
Oh, you have it, okay. So
Yes.
that's good, because that will help explain some of what the
Yes.
agreement was.
Right. But
So-
it seems like it's in competition with the Recplex. And at $240,000 a year, I mean, I could see why you might want to use the space, because if they're using it, if Ballparks America is primarily using it for the kids that come in, and it's going to be during the summertime, not during the school season. So there should be quite a few months where local kids could be using it.
So you're
So-
referring to the fields themselves?
That's the facility use agreement. And then there's also a ground lease where the Ballparks of America has an annual amount of $100,000, but then there's rent abatement at $100,000 for the first 5 years, and then from years 6 to 8, it's $75,000 abatement. From years 9 to 12, it's $50,000 abatement. And I guess it's dependent upon whether or not they make any capital improvements to the
Correct.
facilities. So what's the bottom line? Is this another net zero like the Branson Landing for HCW, where you get a great lease, but then you never get the money because you're abating the rent or you're giving the money back? And so it's when you look at that, when I looked at the annual report at last week's meeting, Ballparks of America didn't even make it in as a line item. So I don't know where you find all those numbers. So it just seems that since the board and the city leadership hold positions of public service, that there should be a better financial stewardship. And I know you all are very big on transparency, and that demands accountability. But and you're keeping the city out of the red, at least overall. But when you look at these specific developer items, it looks like you're losing, except if you always go back to the same pat answer. It's an attraction. The city will see additional revenue from these attractions. Well, I doubt the developers use a pat answer like, it'll be a big tourist attraction and we'll make money out of it. No, they use numbers. And so there are enough business people on this board that you ought to know how to negotiate a good lease and get a quantifiable profit out of each of the lease agreements that are negotiated, because some of them just look really pathetic. So would you consider taking a harder look at all of the giveaways? Can the director of finance, can Baker Tilly create an account number so that you see side by side, here's the revenues for this development project, and here are the giveaways, and how are you coming out on it? Are you at zero? Are you at a loss? Are you making money? At what point in time are you permitted to change the terms of the contract? That's all I have to say.
Jerry, I appreciate you bringing these things up. You make us a better city by doing so. We will follow up with Baker Tilly. I will ask for just a little patience because I know he's working on a lot of things right now, but I promise you that we will get with Baker Tilly and raise these questions. Those are very, very valid questions, very valid.
Well, I'm sure the numbers are there. They're just well hidden. And usually when you can pull it all together in a concise format, you can be startled at what you're seeing. It's like maybe we should have been taking a closer look at this all along.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So Cherry, are you saying there's a pattern here that you're seeing?
Sure looks like a pattern.
Well, there's a lot of differences of philosophy with this new board, and the way things have been done in the past. I mean, we were sitting in our Parks Board meeting, and there was a line item that hadn't existed in the past. And a person who'd been on Parks Board for a long time was asking, said, where is this coming from? And I kind of spoke up and deduced that it's the fact that we've seen such a drastic change with Baker Tilly coming in. And I mean, we are sifting through so much here and finding out and putting the pieces together of how things were done in the past. Because when we talk about silos, there was a silo down the hall. I mean, it's just flat out, that's the way it was. So along with what you're saying, I think it's actually a great suggestion. I would like to see not only line item of this is coming in and we're giving this out as sort of a giveaway, but I would like to see each one of those named with, is this a TIF? Is this a C? Because I've said this from the very beginning. I'm not against economic incentive, but there are a handful of actual tools that are set aside for us to use economic incentive. And it just seems, if we want to pay them to utilize storage, so be it. But why does it have to be they give us 7, we give it 700 back? It just seems kind of shady, quite frankly, And what's exactly is that called? Because if we don't have a specific name for it, what else can you call it but a giveaway?
Right.
Freebie,
Right.
So I think it's a good suggestion.
Well, donation.
Jerry, like I said, you raised great questions. I agree with what Marshall said, and this board is committed to full transparency. Some of that transparency, the question you're raising is, help us, the community, help us understand, here's the contract, the money's in, the money's out, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of legalese in these contracts.
Right.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Have patience, grace. So are no other questions from the audience on this matter? Any questions, comments from the board?
It's very irritating to hear these things meeting after meeting. Can I just say that?
You bet.
I mean, it really is, because like you said, Marshall, I think it's so incentives are okay in the right moment, but it seems every 2 weeks something is uncovered that makes you scratch your head and go, why?
Yep.
We keep giving away the chickens and nobody's giving us eggs back, ever. I mean, it's irritating. And like you said, it ain't that hard. Eventually look at the bottom line and say, was this a good deal or not? And if it ain't, stop doing it.
There you go. Jerry, appreciate you.
just like to add, thank you, Cherry, for your research. And along with what Marshall said, you know, is it a TIF, what is it? I think that it would also be a good idea to see if there's just the developers that are involved in the project as well. Are there just a handful, or are we being fair? Have they been fair? So thank you very much for bringing this up.
Hearing no more comments, let's vote.
The motion carries 6-0. Sorry. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the Land and Water Conservation Fund State Assistant Program pertaining to park improvements at Iserman Park. The floor is open for a motion adopting the resolution.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Cindy Shook.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, so these next two items are permission to apply for a grant. So the City of Branson has an opportunity to apply for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which provides matching funds to state and local governments for development of public outdoor recreation areas and facilities. This resolution authorizes the filing of an application with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund State Assistance Program. This staff report will be for the current item and applications for park improvements at Iserman Park, and for the next resolution, an application for park improvements at Parnell Park. The details are as follows. So these two parks were chosen because they comply with the necessary requirements of the LWCF grants, which are ADA accessible. So the topography in our area is very challenging. So these parks were chosen because of the need, and also they can ADA accessible, and the floodplains are issues as well. So Iserman Park, Mayor, you commented when we were down there for the Porous Pave opening, we have an old playground there, and so it was installed in the mid-1990s. I installed that, and so a long time ago, and we would like to replace it with a new playground, more inclusive features, and we'd also like to resurface the 3 pickleball courts at Iserman Park. If you recall, we created those several years ago out of the old basketball court, and a portion of that pickleball court rehabilitation will be paid for. We've been getting help from the Branson Pickleball Club. And then the next park would be Parnell Park. We'd like to replace the existing playground that was purchased, again, in the mid-1990s, with excited about this, potential for a new inclusive playground and impact surfacing. And the project would include a swing structure with an ADA disc swing, picnic tables, and benches. So anyways, that really kind of characterizes what we're hoping to do. There's no, it doesn't mean that we'll get the grant, but we'd like to apply for it, and that concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cindy. Is there any members in the audience wishing to comment or ask questions on this? Before I ask the board, I have a couple things. Are you saying that just because the equipment is 30 years old, we couldn't just paint it and?
We'd like to get something newer and updated.
Cindy, I take my hat off to you. This clearly falls into something important to every board member, and that is the quality of life of our residents. And this directly addresses that.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the members of the board? Other than I love it. Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources for the Land and Water Conservation Fund State Assistant Program pertaining to park improvements at Parnell Park. The floor is open for a motion adopting the resolution.
We have a motion and a second. Any members in the audience wishing to comment? Cindy, I assume you covered.
Same thing.
Same, yeah. So are there any questions from members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city a property owner acknowledgement for property located at 412 Shoreline as part of the rezoning of the properties for Lakeside RV Park expansion. The floor is open for a motion adopting the resolution.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Cindy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, the Parks and Recreation Department is working with the Planning and Development Department to work toward rezoning several properties west of the 300 Boxcar Willie Drive, which is expanding the Branson Lakeside RV Park. As part of the process, the Planning Department requires a notarized signature of the property owner acknowledgement document executed by all property owners. The city of Branson owns one of the properties in the area being rezoned as the property owner acknowledgement and needs to be executed on behalf of the city. I think Chad's got the map pulled up there. In signing this agreement, the city acknowledges it supports the request and agrees to abide by the regulations of the Branson Municipal Code. The resolution authorizes the mayor to execute on behalf of the city as a property owner acknowledgement. Staff recommends approval of the bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Cindy, just for clarity, we have this property under contract.
Yes.
And these two residential lots under contract. Oh, these two.
Yes, that's what we're working toward now.
Yeah, and so the city owns this lot that you're referring to.
Yes, that was during the FEMA buyout of the floodplain.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about. So we've already got an acknowledgement from the other two, and really this just starts the process. This will go to the Planning and Zoning Committee, and then, of course, ultimately to this board.
Yep. Anybody in the audience wishing to have any questions? Sure. Come on up, please. Yes. That's okay. Come on down. We're a friendly group.
Okay, I just
What,
recently,
just your name and address, please.
Tom Harrison, 414 Shore Lane.
Thank you, Tom.
I'd like to address the mayor and the board here. I'm just concerned.
I'm sorry, Tom. Would you speak in the mic?
I'm sorry,
We have
I'm-
people listening online.
Okay, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I'm just concerned at the location of the new add-on. 414, I'm backed up to 412, as you can see, right there, and I really would have a problem with rezoning that because the 412 has been vacant for some time because of the FEMA situation back, I don't know how many years ago that was. That was actually my uncle that owned that property.
Yeah, Tom?
Which one is
Do you
yours?
help? Is this yours?
I'm one, yes, correct.
Okay.
Number one would be my property.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And number 6, I noticed is just across the street, catty corner to me there. I really don't have let's see, I'm getting a little confused here. Let me look at it again. Yeah, because I just found out this information just recently, about an hour ago, so.
That's fine.
I had no clue. But anyway, yeah, so I'm backed up to 412. 412 is backed up to that fenced-off area that the city maintains. It's kind of fenced off. It's an old, I guess it was an old sludge, I don't know what.
It was a dredging.
Dredging operation.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure
Track,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah, dredging operation out of the lake there. And it's been fenced off for many years. I've noticed that. And I even called and talked to a couple years ago, probably Chris Lebeck when he was here, about that whole issue with that. What are they going to do with that? What are they going to do with 412? He said, well, we might rezone it someday. And would you be interested in buying? I said, sure, because it's right back up to my property. He said, well, we'll see what we can do. But that was, of course, a couple years ago. And I just found out recently. So I'm just concerned that that property is backed up right to all the residential right there, and to have an RV park right up against all those other homes that are across the street and my side. There's a new home just went up across the street from me, which is I guess it would be number 105, but straight across the street from here. Yeah.
This one here?
Yeah, actually, the city owns that there too. So I'm a little confused there. The city owns that property you just put your laser on, and yeah, the city owns that. The one in the corner is up for sale right now. And the one across the street, the guy just built the home across the street from me, it's on stilts right now. It's in the process, it's still undergoing construction. So anyway, I'm just having an RV park right there. And of course, Glenn Passmore is at the corner. He owns all the rest of the lots pretty much around that whole corner. You probably heard of Glenn Passmore. And he was concerned as well. And he's the one that alarmed me to this. And he was trying to make it down here himself, but he was busy at the moment. But anyway, I'm just seriously concerned that RV park coming that far. I don't mind coming into that city property because you got a lot of trees and a lot of cover between me and that dredging area. Okay, so that's all I have to say, really.
So you're saying you'd prefer that number 4 there be more of a buffer between
Right.
you and?
Yeah, kind of a dead space just to keep the traffic down. Because right now you have that railroad bridge, you have a one-way in and out of that railway. We've had no crime in that area, that I know of since I've been there. And we've owned that for 10 years, but I just recently moved up here in that lake house this year, March of this year. So it's been really quiet down there. I know if you open that up to an RV park, you're going to have a lot more traffic, a lot more possible just vandalism or trouble. And I'm speculating, of course, but that's what happens when you open up that whole area. Because there's actually a canal on the other side of me, down past Glenn's place, which is down here, which there's no way to get traffic through there because it's kind of a dead spot down there. As you can tell, it's kind of a U-shaped area, and it's been really quiet other than just a little bit of traffic, just people going by, just sightseeing and vacationers, that's fine. But Moore Street, I think, stays really busy because that's the street that runs underneath that. I think that's Moore Street. I haven't even got the street names down yet. Lake Drive, maybe? Yeah, Lake Drive. Yeah, Moore's here. Lake Drive stays really busy because of that railroad crossing. That's a one-way in, one-way. That's like an intersection there. You almost need a stoplight there going underneath that railroad crossing there. And it's kind of unsafe there on that corner too. I was going to mention that. It's a whole nother issue. It's a blocked intersection as you come out of Moore onto Lake. It's kind of a really, I've seen close near misses there all the time because of all the trees and undergrowth that's there. It's blocking that intersection. You can't see very well. That's my issue. That's about it.
Tom, I really appreciate you coming up and sharing this with us. Cindy, did you want to comment or
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Thank you so much for, so this tonight is really just to consider rezoning. So it's certainly a long process. And in fact, if we were able to move forward tonight, we'll be sending out a letter. And so the letter will be sent to all of the property owners within 185 feet. And it's encouraging everybody to gather at the park and talk about things. And so that would be even before the Planning and Zoning Committee even considers it. So I've got the letter here in my hand. I was waiting to send it out. So we hope to gather at the campground on Thursday, September 8th from 5 to 7 to hear exactly the kind of feedback that you're talking about. And we certainly want to be a good neighbor. We consider ourselves pretty quiet, and that the traffic would not be entering from the road. It would be entering from, Mayor, can you point right there? Yes, right there. So that would be the access point. It would not be in the neighborhood, but buffering is something that we would, strongly want to talk about.
Thank you, Cindy. Tom, you good with that? Yeah, so what we're voting on tonight is just to try to go to, we're going to DNR on this?
Yeah, it would allow it to be considered for the first time at the Planning and Zoning to talk
Okay.
about it.
So this is the beginning stage, plenty of opportunity. We do want to be good neighbors. And thank you again for coming. Anybody else in the audience have any comment? Are you in the audience?
Not yet.
Would you like to be?
Nope.
You're about to be. Anybody else in the audience wishing to comment? Hearing none, we have a line at the dais.
Hey, Cindy, did he leave already? Oh, no, he's right there. Just really quick, because you give us some great dialogue when we initially started talking about this, and just to kind of give them a purview as to incidents that you have in the city campground to date, because impressive what you do financially with the city resources, but from running your personnel that you run there, through the volunteers that you have working there, just give us a little, just a 3,000-foot view of the safety, the incidents that you've had or not had.
Yeah, well, I really don't have a lot of things to report, luckily. The chief here, we've certainly had some stealing in the past. I don't think that's come up in over a year now. I can't remember, Chief. There was some issues for a little while, but it's been a while. I mean, it's a really popular campground, and we observe quiet hours, so that's really important. Not to say that there certainly aren't things that come up occasionally, but I can't even think of anything that's come up. It's been really, things have gone pretty good the last couple of years.
Alderman, what we typically see out there are theft from the back of a truck, somebody's bicycle, things like that, and it's a one-off. We don't have very many of them, and like Cindy said, I don't recall any in the last year or so. It's pretty quiet.
And I think that just lends itself to the quality that she maintains at the campground with, the people that are staying there. I understand you have a lot of repeat visitors annually, and that, again, that just speaks to the quality of the product that you're delivering there.
Thank you. And it's not, if you recall, we raised our fees last year. So it's, it's not the state park. It costs a few dollars to stay at the park. So, I mean, that's something to consider as well. But security and safety is always something important to look at all the time.
Sure, absolutely.
Marshall?
Tom, I just want you to hear kind of my heart on this and where I've been, coming at it from. A lot of us up here, we are so passionate about parks. You just hear ad nauseum, and we talked about shows tonight. I'm kind of the show guy. We talk a lot about our tourists, but we want the citizens of Branson to have something as well, And this campground has just been such a valuable resource for us. And it's not even that we're competing with other businesses, because the other campgrounds, they asked us, can you guys raise your rates, because we don't want you undercutting us, kind of thing, And so we've made it fair across the board, where we're not trying to undercut Branson businesses, but it's an absolute opportunity for us to kind of raise those revenues so we can put that right back into the trail system. We're working on a master trail that connects all throughout Branson, to make these parks better for you guys, So that's our heart on it. I mean, gosh, I would venture to say you're more likely to have a house party in the neighborhood down there that stays open past 9 p.m. These folks are early birds.
They are.
Probably, yeah.
They are. But I mean, I think it's important that's why we're having the community meeting, to hear Tom's concerns and kind of talk about things for sure. Yeah. But it is, we hope to improve the land. I mean, the gravel Gertie has been there for a long time. And so we hope to make it something really beautiful and attractive. And we certainly want to do something that's going to be reflective of our visitors and our community.
Thank you. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from. So,
Any other comments, questions from the board?
Oh, go ahead, Ruth.
Yes.
Oh, Ruth.
First of all, I'd like to say I highly respect Cindy and what she has done for this city, for the citizens, with the whole park system. So thank you. On the other hand, well, is Mr. Harrison's property and the surrounding property zoned low density?
Michael?
Yes. Okay. And so I also have I'm an advocate for property right protection as well. So I'm glad to know that this has come out for discussion and that Mr. Harrison will be able to participate as well, because there does need to be protection for we have very little single-family property left in the city limits, and that needs to be protected. Thank you so much.
May I say something?
We're done.
What's the gentleman's name?
Tom.
Tom. What I heard Tom say is he doesn't have a problem with this being, he just wants he doesn't want the RVs to be up on his back porch. And I think we're going to be very considerate of that, and that will be, I mean, in my opinion, that should be priority number one, making sure that there is plenty buffer there and the noise is kept as quiet as possible and they're not right up on his property line. right? Okay.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Tom.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving continuing the real estate contract past the inspection period to due diligence period as provided in the contract with Universal Entertainment LLC for the purchase of the White House Theater to be used for a new public safety building. The floor is open for a motion adopting the resolution.
We have a motion and a second. Oops. We have a new motion, second. Any question? Oh, first we'll get a staff report from Keith Francis.
Mayor, members of the board, good evening. This has been a whirlwind the last 45 days, pulling a lot of information together. But I'll just read some of the facts here. On July 1st, 2022, the city entered a real estate agreement contract with Universal Entertainment LLC for the purchase of the White House Theater to be repurposed into a public safety building. The contract allows for a 60-day inspection period, which was our due diligence period, for inspection of the property. The city contracted with Hafer Welker Architect Firm to do a preliminary feasibility study of the building. They provided a basic space analysis and overview of converting the theater to a public safety building. Additionally, city staff had the following completed. We've done a phase 1 environmental assessment, a roof analysis to do any roof repairs or anything like that, asbestos survey, and a mold mitigation analysis. The city's repairs and remediations were assessed and are included in the estimated cost analysis. Cost estimates provided by Hafer Welker, excuse me, and a cost comparison is Exhibit 1 in the staff report here. It was developed by analyzing the estimated building completion cost of new construction at the Forsyth Road location and the repurposing of the White House Theater property. The city's been advised it can financially afford the White House Theater property preliminary. The building purchase of $2.5 million will be with the current funds from the public safety tax, and the city will seek the best funding options for the construction expenses. Additionally, agency partnerships and grant opportunities are being explored, as well as anticipated reimbursement of the public safety fund from the sale of the property at the Forsyth Road location. The cost comparison shows a substantial savings by moving forward with the purchase of the White House Theater. It's also anticipated that the construction and move in time for the police department will be significantly sooner than the estimated Forsyth Road location. This resolution formalizes the board's desire to continue the real estate contract past the inspection period for the purchase of the White House Theater. We've done our due diligence, and staff is recommending approval if you so desire, and I'll be glad to answer any questions I can about it.
Thank you, Keith. Is there anybody in the audience have any questions or comments on this? Any members of the board?
I think, Chief, is it be helpful to hear, is this something this affects you, your department, so I'd be curious to get your thoughts and where you think we should go with this.
Alderman, I appreciate the opportunity. I was thinking back there earlier, February 2018, I was sitting in a meeting in Arlington, Texas, when I got the call and the job offer. And I was told, are you ready? Because you're going to be building a building in the next 2 years. We know that that didn't happen. You can look up toward the hallway and you can see a lot of employees up there. Since we first started talking about this White House, there's been energy downstairs in the police department. When we talk about promises and promises fulfilled, your decision tonight is going to make that public safety tax come home to us. Does that make sense? And our employees are going to be proud of a new home when this thing comes full circle in 18 to 24 months and we get that new home to move into. I think it's a great idea.
I think for me, I wanted to hear, can we afford it? What's the financing? I think I'd asked that question right from the beginning.
I wanted to know that. And I think, more importantly, I wanted to know, does this meet your needs? Does this accomplish what you guys need to do your job and continue to serve the city? And so with your guys' blessing, I'm all for this. I think it's an exciting opportunity for the city and the police department and potentially some other departments moving forward, so.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the board?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'll just piggyback on what Cody said. I mean, obviously, when it was brought up, and appreciate Ralph here for having the initial idea, it was an exciting, cool, a fun idea, but I'd hear from you first, And if you said no way, or even then I would have been trepidatious about moving forward. But the excitement that's been around is just thrilling, And so I just can't wait for this opportunity. We said half the price, double the space, half the time, but it's not even half the time. It could be 5 years sooner, a quarter of the time. I mean, it fulfills so much of our needs. We talked about tonight about storing documents at the ballparks. I mean, surely there's it's just an incredible opportunity, so.
We will save $700 a month.
More than that. Yeah, could we store those boxes over there at the new place?
We have room, Keith?
We're going to have a little bit of room over there.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Well, I will say, I highly compliment Ralph, Alderman LeBlanc, for initially coming up with this concept. Highly compliment the board for the actions and how expeditious it was. I recall introducing this to Chief Matthews because, like everybody up here, it needs to serve your needs. And Chief, your expression was priceless. At the time, there was a lot of questions, but the level of interest. And we moved at breakneck speed, right? We immediately were out there inspecting it, shortly had a contract. Keith, and you and the architects and everybody in getting these reports done was remarkable. We had a short window of an inspection period. I'll echo what Marshall said. It's twice the size, half the price, and half the time of delivery. So at 10,000 feet, it made a lot of sense. But when I heard what the chief said, to me, that's the pendulum mover. Do you have something, Chief?
Mayor, my partner in crime back there reminded me of the conversation that we had when we first started talking about this. Our Forsyth location was just going to be a police station. The fire chief and I, since I met him, have had a desire to come together, to form a tighter team, to work together in one building so that when we do have crisis, we're there together. We've got the Emergency Operations Center, which he's in charge of. This building provides us that opportunity to bring police and fire admin together under one umbrella and one team and work more closely together. So it's a great opportunity for the whole city.
Thank you. And I know that, I, as an alderman, as a mayor, I never understood why our previous administration didn't want to see police and fire have this joint unit together. To me, at 10,000 feet made a lot of sense. So to hear the excitement from both you and from our fire chief of being able to construct this and have a unified center there. And tonight we're making a decision to move forward with this purchase. There will be countless conversations of what do we do with the remaining space, what to do with the remaining land. There's enough land and building there to last this city for decades. So I'm anxious to get the public involved and listen to the public on ideas that they have of what they can see us doing with the remainder of this space. So I just think it's a win-win overall.
Well, I would just like to echo everything. However, I just also want to brag on City of Branson's public safety is amazing. We have an amazing group of servants that serve our public, and we are blessed to have this location. And I'm excited to see it come to fruition. So thank you to all of our public safety servants. Thank you.
Mayor?
Sorry, time's up.
Yeah. So, this board got behind that idea when I presented it. But I think what's kind of spurred me to think a little bit differently was what the chief laid out when he presented to us that public safety building, the timeline, the cost, and how, as a municipality, our crutch to attract new recruits to come into our community was because we were lacking an asset like that. And that was the motivation, and that's what I explained to the board, and the board quickly got behind that, but even more than that, staff got behind it also. And it's just a testament to the level of teamwork and camaraderie that's happening throughout the city right now. And I see it with the residents because they're asking questions about it, they're involved with it, they're asking, when do we get to see it kind of thing, and I'm like, well, you can go drive up there right now, there's a building. But I just want to thank everyone for their level of interest in what this board put together, because no one does this alone. I mean, this is a collective thought idea, and it just pushed forward. And Lisa here made some amazing things happen with the planning, and it was a marvel to see, knowing how long things tend to slow roll through city government. We were kind of at breakneck speed, and Keith was, kind of at the helm of that. So to all the public safety people, this is for you guys, man. We want you guys to have a home and that you can be proud of, and that when visitors come here, they're going to know what we stand for, and it's about that level of character and quality throughout our city, and this is just going to represent that for us.
Okay. Well, it's time to make history in Branson, so let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
20 years in the making.
What a proud day.
And Officer Donathan's back there. He's going to have a special office. Just kidding.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution approving a request from the Historic Downtown Branson Community Improvement District for the city to install and remove Christmas light fixtures annually in historic downtown Branson. The floor is open for a motion adopting the resolution.
Motion is second. We'll get a staff report from Keith Francis.
Mayor, members of the board, this is a resolution for you all to approve, basically our Public Works Department, to install and remove the Christmas lights. They're getting ready to purchase new lights for the downtown area, the historic downtown. I think there's approximately 65 lights, give or take a couple. And we'll be hanging them on the existing light poles down there, the old light poles which are still down there on Main Street all the way down to Branson Landing, and some of the new light poles also. The light poles, the existing and the newer ones, were all evaluated structurally to make sure they were structurally sound to hold these new stars, or snowflakes, or whichever ones they were. But basically, they're taking care of all of the maintenance, the upkeep on them, the storage of them, everything like that. Basically, we'll get them out of their storage unit. They're hung on racks. We'll haul them over there on our trailers and be responsible for putting them up and taking them down to dress up downtown, during Christmas time. So that's what this resolution is for you all to approve us to and support that. Be glad to answer any more questions.
Keith, is there any reason from your perspective that we would not want to do this?
You're probably asking the wrong person. I'm the biggest kid in the puddle here.
Okay.
Because I like Christmas lights. No, we can certainly handle it, but
Did you say the biggest kid in the puddle?
biggest kid in the puddle, you got it. Yep. I enjoy Christmas lights, and this will certainly be a big addition to the downtown area. And the new lights are made out of aluminum frames and everything, so it'll be a lot lighter than the other lights that are hung on Branson Landing Boulevard we put up
That's
every year.
great. I've always envisioned our downtown during Christmas to be really lit up, so this is one step towards that direction.
Right.
Is there any questions or comments from anybody in the audience? Go for it. Oh, we had one go for it. Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Your Honor, that motion carried 6-0. Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6191, an ordinance accepting the bid of Capital Paving and Construction LLC for 2022 mill overlay patch repair and striping of various city streets, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6191.
Mayor, members of the board, this is our yearly paving contract for the mill and overlay and our striping. We received 3 qualified bids were received July 20th, 22 for the 2022 mill and overlay patch and repair and striping for our streets. We received 3 bids: Capital Paving Construction, Blevins Asphalt, and APAC, and we have the 3 bids listed there. The lowest responsible bidder was Capital Paving, the amount of $1,390,999.99. Staff recommends approval of this to be awarded to Capital Paving and an amount not to exceed $1,399,999.99. Funds are budgeted in the transportation operating budget for this annual construction project. Staff recommends approval, and we're glad to answer any questions.
Keith, we're gonna have to have a motion, a second, to put this on the floor, and then you can repeat what you said.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just for the record.
I would.
We had the staff report before the motion is second. It is on the floor. Is there any questions from anybody in the audience? Any questions, comments from the board? Lisa?
Your Honor, just to make note of tonight's reading of bills, that the staff is requesting that all the ordinances be read twice tonight because we have a break. We canceled the next meeting. And so these prices, trying to hold these prices and move these, and along with moving these projects forward, all of the ordinances tonight are asking for a second reading.
I think you've put the cart before the horse because it hasn't been approved the first time yet.
I'm sorry, I was making that note in general for all the directors.
Any questions, comments? We got them from the audience, the board. Any questions, comments? Ready to vote? Let's vote.
Oh, I got to vote. Yes, right.
That motion carried 6-0.
So,
Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6191 for its final reading due to timing.
looking for a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, it's my fault.
We have motion and second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? Any aldermen? Hearing none, let's vote. We are voting to approve to have a second read.
That motion carries 6-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6191, an ordinance accepting the bid of Capital Paving and Construction LLC for 2022 mill overlay patch repair and striping of various city streets and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6191.
Is there anybody in the audience wishing to comment or have questions? Any members of the board? Hearing none, this will be the vote for the second and final reading. Please vote.
That motion carries 6-0. Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6192, an ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies in the Transportation Fund for an increase in fiscal year 2022 fuel and vehicle maintenance expenses. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6192.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Keith.
Mayor, members of the board, this staff reports for a budget amendment to adjust the monies in the various line item accounts in the Transportation Fund for fiscal year 2022. When the 2022 budget was created in 21, staff used existing costs of the fuel line items and also vehicle and heavy equipment expenses trending from previous years. A budget amendment is needed due to fiscal year 2022's usage trends depending upon events that occurred during the year, which has snow removal activities, utility line breaks, and due to vehicle and equipment expenses for our aged fleet. Branson Municipal Code states that an increase in appropriation within the budget fund shall require the approval of the Board of Aldermen. Funds are budgeted in this budget amendment will come from our Transportation Fund reserves. Staff recommends approval and be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, comments from members of the audience? Keith, this amount is has already been budgeted?
These are existing contracts that have already been budgeted for fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
This is just an amendment to those and to adjust the monies for it.
Any questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Your Honor, again, I move to read Bill Number 6.
Should we wait to see if it passes?
Oh, sorry. I really have to go to the bathroom. Trying to move this along, Bill. Do I need to repeat that for YouTube, or we good?
I think they got
You
it.
talk about me being a kid in a puddle.
Well, ever since you brought up puddle, I'm just flooding back here.
Oh, goodness.
Alderman Cooper, could you please vote on that?
Oh, yeah.
You're holding it up, buddy.
Thank you.
Hold it up.
Hold it, babe.
That motion carried 6-0.
He said he'll vote when he gets back.
We're good now.
So we've just voted to approve to have the second read?
No, we just approved the first reading.
The
Now
first
we-
read.
Now we need,
Now we need a motion.
Alderman Cooper, you're on now.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6192 for its final reading. Please.
Any questions? Hearing none, let's vote.
Let me get this on the floor just a second.
We're trying to move this along.
I'm sorry.
Come on, computer. Did you vote?
That motion carried 6-0.
Your Honor.
Your Honor, I move to take a bathroom break.
Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill Number 6192. An ordinance amending the adopted 2022 budget for the City of Branson to adjust monies in the Transportation Fund for an increase in fiscal year 2022 fuel and vehicle maintenance expenses. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6192.
We have a motion second. Any comments from anybody? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
We'll adjourn for 7 minutes.
Cooper, we want to get started.
Thank you.
Cody?
This guy scared Terry Bradshaw away.
Yes, did he really?
I'm going to call this meeting back to order. Clay, you feeling better?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6193, an ordinance approving a contract amendment to Empire Energy LLC Services Contract for fuel and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6193.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Keith.
Mayor, members of the board, this is in conjunction with the other budget amendment for our fuel. The city's annual fuel costs vary significantly over, over the year. Not only do the extreme savings in gas prices affect the cost of the usage charge changes, depending upon what events occur in the city, such as snow removal activities, utility line breaks affect the cost. Annual fuel contract was approved with Empire Energy LLC for the purchase of motor vehicle fuel and also included the diesel, December 14th of 21, for a not to exceed amount of $350,000 for fiscal year 2022. This amount was based on the 21 cost. Based on this year's usage trends and increased fuel costs for the first of the year, the city needs to amend the contract for an additional $170,000 to get us basically through the end of the year, which will bring the total not to exceed amount of $520,000 for fiscal year 2022. Funds for the increase are available in utilities and transportation accounts. Staff recommends approval for the contract amendment in the amount of $170,000. We're glad to answer any question and recommend approval.
Thank you, Keith. Are there any questions, comments from members of the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill Number 6193 for its final reading.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6193, an ordinance approving a contract amendment to Empire Energy LLC Services Contract for fuel and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6193.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote. Thank you, Keith.
That motion carries 6-0. Your Honor, the next item is first reading of Bill Number 6194, an ordinance approving the amendment to agreement with Hofer Welker LLC for professional design services related to Fire Station Number 4, and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6194.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Chief Martin.
Mayor, members of the board, Jack, could you pull that PowerPoint up for me, please? The Board of Aldermen approved a contract with Hofer Welker LLC for professional design services for Fire Station Number 4 with an original not-to-exceed amount of $390,000. The contract negotiated included basic design services for 8.25% of construction costs, plus additional pre-design supplemental services and optional services like the ground geotech engineering and some extra charges. We found there was rock on the property. Hofer Welker has been working with the city staff through a charrette design process and in-service design meetings, plus online meetings, something we requested to help save money and travel with them. The preliminary design for Fire Station 4 is estimated at $4.5 million over the budget estimates of 3.1, pre-COVID, pre-inflation. When we did the original design with the previous architect, Hofer Welker states that we were on budget for what we had designed for that neighborhood, for that community. And now that we're 2 or 3 years later, post-COVID, everything's up. Not that I'd like to stand here and ask for more money. The city staff, including the fire department's building committee, recommends proceeding with the design and recommends the contract amendment, increasing design service fees by $115,500. There are no expected additions to reimbursable expenses allowances. They're going to stick to what they stated for travel here and other incidentals. The building design remains within the footprint of 11,000 square feet, including 3 bays, 6 bunk rooms, living space, training and community room, and occupant load of 25 people in that training room. Additionally, space within a mezzanine has been utilized for practical training drills commonly used by the firefighters. We've taken this process through Ben Hart, through the public safety funds, and he feels confident. We originally had a budget plan of 1.5 this year, 1.5 next year, $1.5 million in the third year. He believes that we're solid enough we can do it in 2 years, this year and next, on the financials. The Public Safety Committee has seen this proposal as well, including the two back here. Mr. Gass bought the original property for the fire station some 20 years ago, so we might be moving forward here pretty quick. The Public Safety Committee, again, approved that, and Cheryl approves as well from engineering. I'd like to show you a couple pictures real quick. Chad, if you can click, or do I have control? We did do the geotech. We did site boreholes, and as we mentioned, we have a solid 6 inches of dirt across the entire property, which is 9.6 acres currently. Next slide. One thing I wanted to share with you that our chief officers, on-duty personnel, off-duty personnel, were able to go through a charrette process. You will see if this company continues with the public safety building, this same process we use. You'll see your police officers involved, plus us if we continue with a little bit of space in the building. But what you're seeing on this wall is all the design potential for how to place the building on the land. And next slide is, just pictures and pictures of different design stations and interior and exteriors. And so we did, this was a 3-day process. All 3 crews were open to it. So we're able to do a day's work than they designed to about 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock. Came back the next day, and we started with the next round of design. And it just kept growing from that point of, they did a lot of work in 3 days. And very impressed with this team. Next slide in here. Then, of course, using the EOC, we had lots of data up, the opportunities to use our large screens for their team. And next slide, as we had drawings in front of us, and they could move things around on the electronic versions. One more slide. To the tune that it was almost like playing watching my teenager play a video game. The 3D looks that they could tour us. This is just a still picture off the monitor, but they could tour us, opening doors, going through doors, and what you see on this lower level, where the wood doors are, is kind of what we call a fourth bay concept. When you look at today's modern needs for firefighter safety and health and wellness, the bays will essentially become clean. No more gear in the bays. It's around our apparatus, off-gassing against other people's gear. We'll have a dirty utility, clean utility for the gear, a gear room. The double doors is a wood shop, or is a shop for maintenance of equipment. And then because that caused the roof structure to extend out, that gave us a void up top, which we're able to put in a mezzanine that you can come in this front door and come up a stairwell and hit some training space, either do the bailout simulations that the crews all carry bailout gear on their bunker gear, to hose advances and the training opportunities inside 365 days a year. Just if it's an inclement day, they can still do some training in dead space that we're able to allocate. So we in turn have cut back that training room with the Public Safety Center coming on board, with the cost centers. The original concept was to have about 100-person room. We've cut that back. We had extra concrete down for training space with our training tower. Because of the White House Theater, we've cut that back, and we're still pushing these numbers up. So tonight we just asked that we have the opportunity that when we look at a facility that was designed to complement the neighborhood, if you will, not to build a Butler building and against really nice condos and the Point Royale subdivision, this should fit in well. Next one there, Chad. Basic footprint are the 3 bays. You can see the training room up top, the living quarters to the far right, the bunk rooms down towards the bottom. Modern times where we'll have individual bunk rooms for the crews instead of the wide open space. They're tired of hearing each other snore in those rooms. Next slide up, and I'll just keep on going one more, Chad. This is an important one just to show you the elevations. The top left is the front of the bays, front of the firehouse. You can see how that should fit well with the neighborhood in that part of the country. They'll have the bifold doors in the front, which is a time saving for the crews to get out the door. The south elevation or backside will be standard roll-up doors. And you can see how we've used dead space for training that will take us towards the future growth opportunities to serve that area. The bays are all a little bit longer. Everything we have right now, we can barely walk around apparatus in the bays. So this will solve some of that storage space as well, where we've had equipment sitting outside. Everything will be able to go inside. So that's a brief update as we add the request to increase some funding post-COVID. I pushed them pretty hard that this puts us in the $5 million mark. I never dreamed I would say that number, but I told the architectural firm that as we start going out for bid for contractors, I hope that we beat that price as things are getting better, I hope, every day, which would include their contract as well. Any questions that I might answer?
Chief, I know this has been fairly fluid. Construction cost, inflation has gone up. You were able to use some of the square footage in the, I'm going to call it the excess space over in the White House. Is this, at the end of the day, is this what you were wanting, and is there room for your future expansion here?
I think I go past word want to maybe need. We want to make sure that we're building a facility that fits the needs of our staff and the community. So as we see future, or today, but also future growth, that we've got room to put things inside, that if we do a dual company station sometime, if we change our structure exactly, we originally owned 1 acre on Quebec. That land doesn't work for us anymore. That was 20 years ago that was purchased. And so this hopefully gives us some foresight to be a solid building. The other thing we look in with the architectural firm is you can cut some cost and go wood frame and paint it. And how many buildings are we looking at right now in the city, in our properties of the city, that are 5 years behind on painting or structural issues to work at? And we're trying to tell them that, and they're very good about this, everything their price is baseline, middle of the road, and high end. And so when we look at product and cost benefit, we hope we designed a building that will reduce our maintenance cost and last a long time. So I hope you hear that that's what our team has been working on.
Really proud to hear that. Any questions, comments from anybody in the audience? Questions, comments from the board?
Well, I'll kind of echo what I said about the public safety building. I mean, I wanted to hear 2 things. One, what the mayor just asked you. I think you're saying it's not just a want, it's a need, right? And this delivers on that. And the other thing, and I think Ben and his team from Baker Tilly and the staff in the finance department, to have their blessing and say, not only can we do this, we might be able to do it even a little bit faster than originally projected as far as when that could be paid. That's enough for me. And so I think
one of the reasons why we asked that question about 2 years is this company came in with a timestamp of a potential, and I think this is a dream, but they think the potential timestamp of completion would be late '23. they said October, but I want to say, if it was January 24, I think we're doing pretty good. When we're talking about transformers from the power company taking 12 months to get here, that scares me for any contractor in this town. So we want to make sure that we can get those bills paid in 23, and if we had to do a PO, we could carry monies past 24.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, that's a beautiful facility, and I'm so happy to see this move forward. Happy for you and your team, and this is where it feels good to spend money. You know what I mean? This is money well spent, and I don't think any of us have a burr on our side about spending money when it's going towards something like this. So kudos and thank you guys for all your hard work, and the design team as well. So this is exciting.
Chief, speaking to that, could you give us just maybe I don't know if you had a few bullet points or a 30,000-foot view of what were some of the guiding principles when it came to design? Obviously, utilization, I mean.
The first one is firefighter health and wellness. That's the current #1 thing in the fire service across the country. What we're doing with our gear, how we're cleaning it, how we're storing it, how we're keeping it away from the apparatus, from the exhaust. This also has facilities for a decon of the personnel if they come off of a fire. And so that's the primary thing. The second part was looking at interior finish, what's very easy to maintain and clean, back to firefighter safety again, and maintenance. So the flooring they're looking at is, and I forgot the acronym, but kind of a laminate type flooring through most of the walkways. The bathrooms have a special flooring for its moisture barrier. The bunk room would have the square tile carpet, as well as their seating area in the day room. So they've worked very hard on interior finish as well that fits the needs of the firefighters' daily operations. Space is another thing. Everything we've got currently is squeezed, in especially, well, all 3 stations. In fact, I think the crew's already designed my office to do something else. I think I heard you talking about that, Captain. But to be able to have space that we can grow, as I mentioned, Station 2 and 3, you pretty much have to skinny up between the bay door and the apparatus. So we need to be able to grow with that as well.
Yeah, well, I'm curious, Ted, at what point, when we talk about health and safety for our firefighters, at what point is this so much further ahead than our other stations? Do you see what I'm saying? How can we utilize this not just for that sector of the city? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Are we at risk of getting out of balance where one is so much nicer than the other? Or?
No, that's where you rehab. In fact, I was reading an article today online where city of Tampa, Florida, fire station, it was an old building, 3 bays. It was kind of a stucco finish. They just did a rehab remodel, 3 bays, existing building for $3.1 million. So it made me feel better about the price at $5 million for 11,000 square foot modern. So to that point, I would expect that our current Station 2 and 3, for example, are hitting 24, 25 years old. We've done remodeling interior a little bit, but we'll have to do some remodeling in the future as well.
Sure. I kind of had the same question, like, do all of your team get to share in this, or is it just one group? Because somebody's going to be really ticked off, right?
Well, there's really one captain that lives down the street, and he thinks he can ride his bicycle to work from here, so he thinks he's got the priority on it. But this will be a nice station to serve our staff and the community for a long, long time.
But to my question, is there would be one team there and the others will be but they don't rotate and everybody gets to share the love there, right?
They're very much in their station house, so they get to bid when the vacancies come open. They can bid for positions and locations and apparatus. That's all in the contract.
Is it safe to say that these are some of the ones getting the new home that are hanging out tonight?
You never know.
That's why they're hanging out.
That's right.
I would like to publicly acknowledge, for those that are listening online, that in our presence is Dick Gass. Dick Gass is the chairman of our Public Safety Committee. Dick Gass has been a driver for this building for, I can't tell you how many years. Dick, I appreciate you, this board, the community appreciates what you've done to cause this to become reality. I just wanted to thank you for that. Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
Follow my lead. Yeah. Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6194 for its final reading.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this? Any members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item for the second and final read?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6194, an ordinance approving the amendment to an agreement with Hofer Welker LLC for professional design services related to Fire Station Number 4 and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6194.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak to this matter? Anybody on the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Dick.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill number 6195, an ordinance approving the Second Amendment to the contract with Connell Insurance Incorporated for cyber liability coverage and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill number 6195.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Jan. Jan, tell us what we want to hear.
Mayor, this isn't as exciting as police stations or fire stations, but it is something that's necessary for us. In the consent agenda you just approved earlier, you approved a budget amendment for $93,166. That's to pay for the additional costs for cyber liability coverage. That total cost will be $136,179.75. We already had approved $43,014 in the original contract with Connell Insurance, leaving a difference of $93,165.75. We have tucked away from our property liability work comp rebates, if you will. We got $48,969 in a refund on workers' compensation payments, leaving a total impact to our general fund of $44,196.75. This coverage is for $5 million of cyber coverage and $5 million of ransomware coverage. We recommend approval of this, and we'll answer any questions.
Jan, just to bring everybody up to speed, last year, our cyber insurance policy, the premium was $43,000.
That's right.
And my understanding is because of, I guess, a massive amount of claims nationwide, worldwide, our premium went from $43,000 to $136,700.
That's correct. And on top of that, we went from $10 million in coverage to $5 million in coverage. So it's gone up significantly. Currently, as it sits, according to our broker, those entities that currently have cyber coverage are seeing massive increases, and those entities that have no coverage are having a very difficult time finding it.
That's just mind-boggling to me. And we thought the cost of lumber going up was a large percentage. Right? That's a 300% increase and in 1 year and half the coverage.
If I may, Mayor, in the underwriter last year, they're not in the business of cyber insurance.
I'm sorry, say that again, Chad?
The underwriter that we had last year that covered us, they're not in the cyber insurance business any longer. They had to find 3 different underwriters to put together this policy for us. And according to our broker, there's only 10 in the game that support cities of our size and our budget. Again, I'm quoting them. Of course, I'm not the expert in that specifically, but they wouldn't renew us at all because they don't offer it.
Wow. Is there any questions or comments from anybody in the audience? Questions, comments from the board?
Well, I mean, that's a lot of money, but I think it's something it's a risk you can't take, right? I mean.
Well, I know that Chad and Janet, you guys, I know you've searched and searched and searched, and you wouldn't be bringing this to us if this wasn't the best thing you could find on the market.
That's right.
Yeah, I think
The mic.
at some point, if this continues to rise, we have to have a difficult conversation
Yeah,
about
backup plan.
how we do this. But if we can, staff recommends approval, of course. And
What if we took all cumulative Board of Aldermen pay, put it into a fund,
Right.
and self-fund this insurance?
and start charging to use the restroom, you might get there.
Oh, I'm in for 1,000 there.
Wow, that's, I know there's nothing we can do about it. This is, man, that's just, it's. Is any, I already asked the board, any comments? No. Then let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
We're going to choose not to do a second read on this.
Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill 6195 for its final reading.
Due to,
Due to timing, to protect the city. That's why.
we have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments from the audience? Questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you read this introduction for the next, for the final read, please?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill Number 6195, an ordinance approving the Second Amendment to the contract with Connell Insurance Incorporated for cyber liability coverage and authorizing the mayor to execute the amendment. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill Number 6195.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the audience? Comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is the first reading of Bill Number 6196, an ordinance approving the contract with Iron Brook UV for the refurbishment of the existing ultraviolet disinfection equipment at the Cooper Creek wastewater plant effluent and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the first reading of Bill Number 6196.
And here's Kendall.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Kendall.
Good evening. A quote was received from Iron Brook UV, a sole source for the refurbishment of the existing ultraviolet disinfection equipment at the Cooper Creek wastewater plant effluent. Work will include replacement of major components for 2 power distribution cabinets and 36 lamp racks. The refurbishment will include controller boards, transformers, blowers, UV intensity monitors, lamps, sleeves, and relatively related electrical components. The improvements will increase efficiency and increase the life of the systems and allow automatic operation. This is an intermediate improvement to delay full replacement, which is estimated at $1.8 million currently. We originally budgeted $210,000 from our tourism dollars
for this project. The quote for the reimbursement came in at just over $71,000 under budget. And the quote is valid for 30 days. Staff recommends approval for the contract with Ironbrook UV in an amount not to exceed $138,488 for the 2022 contract period.
Lisa, I appreciate the fact you put the good news at the very end. Is there any questions, comments from the board, from the audience? Questions or comments from the board?
I just want to, Kendall's, this might be the first time you've ever come in under budget on something, so.
I was going to say, he shaved up
It's,
pretty good there.
Yeah, no, this is the first time we can congratulate you and say, way to go for not spending all of our money.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Kendall, this estimated 1.8 million for replacement. Do you have a projected timeline on that?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of background on that. Currently, as the treatment plant sits, we only have so much capacity available. At some point in time, we'll have to look at expanding capacity at Cooper Creek once more development comes on board, once the city grows more. And at that time, that's when we would look at doing a complete refurbishment of the entire system and expanding it for additional capacity. So right now, we're very limited on what capacity that this particular unit will serve. So the 1.8 would be to expand it out to the roughly 10 million gallons per day plant.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe these costs were included in the tourism tax. In our bonding capacity.
Yeah, so
increasing our bonding capacity.
So that was one of the items that was used to help promote the tourism dollars was our Cooper Creek treatment plant expansion, along with also our Meadows water treatment plant expansion.
Have I asked the audience if you had any questions? No. Do you have any questions? Comments? Any questions, comments from the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
Are all the double reads, is this for, because we're off for a few weeks? Is that what this is?
Just read it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6196 for its final reading.
Why are you asking? Oh. We have a motion and a second to approve a double read. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the members of the board? Hearing none, let's vote.
Your Honor, that carried 6-0.
Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this final read?
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6196, an ordinance approving the contract with Ironbrook UV for the refurbishment of the existing ultraviolet disinfection equipment at the Cooper Creek wastewater plant effluent and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract. The floor is open for a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 6196.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions from the audience? Questions or comments from the board? We'll be voting on the second and final read of this item. Please vote.
Your Honor, that carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Kendall, thank you. Come back with more news just like that.
Kendall, don't spend it all in one place.
That is all the agenda items. We are now into the report section. Any report, Alderman Fenton?
Nothing specifically other than just to say thank you again to everybody involved with the public safety building, the fire station. Those are two what I think are pretty exciting projects, something for the city to really be proud of, and something that we've accomplished as a board, and working together with the city staff to see that done. So very excited for that. And again, just thank you to everybody. And I'll yield the rest of my time to Alderman LeBlanc because he generally needs it. So.
Alderman Denham.
Just a thank you to city staff, and I'm just so pleased at how quickly everyone worked together to make this a reality. So thank you so much. And I just really enjoy working with this board. It is fun to make decisions, well-thought-out decisions, and we have a board that really listens to its citizens, and I'm really proud of that. So thank you, everybody.
Alderman Cooper.
I did owe that, and I have nothing.
Wow. What? Alderchuck.
I've got nothing.
Alderman Howden, is there any possibility you have a report you'd like
I
to
thought
share?
about it. Very quick. Mr. Mayor, Sam with the Convention Center called me following up. When he gave his presentation, I wanted to see kind of a year by year, how is that budget going down, of the expenditure that we have to put forth. And so maybe I'll talk with Lisa and we can figure out the best way to disseminate that to the public, maybe put it on our website. But he's got a great chart of how much they spent this year, and the trajectory on that is just incredible. What an amazing facility, amazing job they do over there. So yeah, kudos to our convention center.
Thank you for bringing that up. Any of that information should be available on our website for the public. Alder Doctor.
Thank you for yielding your time.
Yeah, it was only like 30 seconds, so don't overdo it here.
Gentleman from Ward 1, thank you for yielding your time.
Two.
That's two, sorry, yeah, you're right. 24 months. That's the potential that we have for both of these projects to be done simultaneously. What a heavy lift, but what an amazing set. I mean, just the teamwork and the camaraderie of all this. I mean, we're joking about it, but it's because it's a win. It's a win for the residents, the community, for everyone, for Ward 3, Ruth and I represent, for a new fire station, and for the entire city, a public safety building complex, emergency management center. I mean, all of those things rolled up into one. And I just think that's amazing. I think it's a foreshadowing of what's to come for the city. Those two projects are really going to elevate us. And my understanding is that when that fire station gets built, it may help some people with some homeowners insurance and things like that, and all the way around the whole city.
For the city, yeah.
So I mean, those are just amazing things, and that's just kudos to all of the staff for working diligently. And I got to say, Lisa, thank you so much for everything you did, because she really turned some things on a dime for us to make that happen. And to the design team that worked on the fire station and also for the feasibility study for the public safety building. I mean, they were probably just as enthusiastic about this simultaneous project as we were, because they were jumping in. I mean, they were doing things and making it happen. I even recall the main designer saying, I'm just going to grab some engineers and bring them with me, So that was awesome. So everything has just been amazing, and it's just been an amazing experience working through this with everyone. So thank you all, and congratulations to entire public safety, because that's, top priority in our community, and I think it's very important. So,
Very good.
Thank you.
Lisa?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for everybody that has worked on this. It was a quick turnaround, but it was a team effort, and that's how it went around so fast. So that's appreciative. And also, talking about that, the staff, all directors, and their staff that they brought with them, and Cindy, she brought some extra staff with her, because we have to say that because she brought her extra staff. But we all sat down on Monday as a staff and went over the budget, open budget for 2023. So the books were opened up for 2023 with staff. And all their directors brought in their projections, and we started the process around a roundtable with open dialogue. And that included these new facilities and staffing, what that would look like in the future. So all those projections are now starting to come out. October 6th, That will be brought with a joint meeting, special meeting with this board and the finance committee. So that process that will be brought to this board was started this week. It was remarkable. It was energizing. It was positive. And it was just a collaborative effort that was wonderful. I think all the directors would say they'd never seen the process that Baker Tilly brought to us or the openness that was the dialogue. And we were all equally talking out loud about our own budgets and needs in front of each other and discussing it out loud. So it was a wonderful effort. I just want to say, and it's the start of what will come to you in the very near future. A couple other things, just a reminder, the September 13th meeting has been canceled, so we do have a little break between the meetings. And before that happens, we'll have a Labor Day, so I wish everybody a happy Labor Day. So, thank you.
Wow. Lisa, thank you for that report. I know every member of this board feels really good when we get to hear things like the directors openly getting to collaborate and work on issues together. I'm anxious to see this new budget process. I can imagine it'll be nothing but healthy. Thank you for taking the charge on that, Lisa. We would need to make sure that we get out in the media that on our next board of meetings, I hate to have people show up here because they know it's always the second, and we never cancel, so that's going to be something unique. I don't know that I need to go on and on about the the public safety building nor the fire department. All the aldermen up here shared everything I would have shared. Very proud. I will say, I think this is a very big day of what this board has done, and we're doing it for the community, and I think the more the community starts to hear and understand of what we're doing, both with the fire and public safety building, I think they're going to be encouraged. I know they'll be encouraged when we have open meetings to listen to the public of what they would like to see done for the remainder of our public safety building and our excess land. Looking forward to that. I'm excited to continue the conversations, moving our community towards a charter city. Other than that, I think we've had way too much laughter and fun and entertainment on this dais.
I agree.
Jason Wirtz nodding his head. You agree with that? Way too much, yeah. That being said, I think we need looking for a motion to go in executive session.
I move to go into closed executive session pursuant to 610.021.1 RSMO for litigation, 610.021.2 RSMO for real estate, and 610.021.3 RSMO for personnel.
We have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
That motion carried 6-0.
Okay, floor is open for a motion to adjourn. Really? All in favor? Motion's adjourned. Motion's adjourned. Meeting's adjourned.